Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking document C303. And let me tell you, this isn't your everyday academic grievance. It's a newly filed, incredibly intense legal escalation from Dr. Mohammed Abraham Fayad. We're going to walk through this document, which is essentially a direct, unflinching plea to international human rights organizations. It treats his alleged academic exclusion not just as a career dispute, but as a full-blown global human rights crisis.
The author really wastes no time setting the stakes here. He calls the entire filing a manifesto of dignity. Dr. Fayad is out to reclaim what he describes as stolen rights, ripped from the grip of academic elitism. He makes it crystal clear. He's not just speaking for himself. He wants to expose what he sees as systemic rot to the global public and to ethical watchdogs everywhere. The era of stand quiet? Well, according to the text, that's officially over.
So, the core objective here is an urgent call for action. The manifesto is asking global human rights bodies to launch a formal investigation into allegations of systemic racial discrimination. Specifically, it calls out the scientific and racial assassination of Arab Muslim talent. The filing asserts, point blank, that this demographic is being systematically targeted and blocked from contributing to the global scientific community.
Section 1. The Golden Age and Impact Collapse. Let's look at what actually happened.
To grasp the sheer scale of these claims, we have to understand what was allegedly lost. Dr. Fayad alleges that during his time at the communications of the ACM journal, he wasn't just participating, he was the driving force. As associate editor, he penned a super influential column called Thinking Objectively. On top of that, he introduced the software stability methodology. This was a completely new structural approach to programming, and he claims it sparked over 1,600 direct scientific interactions. He basically says he turned the journal from a standard read into a global scientific trendsetter. The document highlights this 22.7 figure as concrete proof of his impact. During his peak involvement, the journal's impact factor didn't just inch up, it soared to a record-breaking 22.7. In the academic publishing world, that is an astronomical number. It represents the absolute pinnacle of global influence and reach.
But then, the document points to a devastating freefall. After his alleged forced departure, that impact factor plummeted down to 12.12. Dr. Fayad doesn't just call this a bad quarter, he calls it a professional scandal. The filing uses this exact numeric collapse as hard evidence of administrative floundering and deep institutional decay once his methodology and his leadership were pushed out.
Section 2. Systematic marginalization and racial targeting.
The manifesto claims this collapse was absolutely not an accident. It was the result of a calculated agenda to uproot his success. It lays out a very specific timeline, starting way back in 2003. That year, Moshe Vardi arrived, which the document cites as the kickoff for these exclusionary tactics. It then jumps to a severe escalation during a major health crisis in 2016 and brings us all the way to 2026, the filing of this very legal appeal.
The core argument boils down to this: performance versus identity. The document argues that the decision to exclude Dr. Fayad totally ignored his record-breaking performance, the massive profits, and the global fame he brought in. Instead, it alleges they targeted his identity, using systemic racial discrimination to silence a highly influential Arab Muslim voice in the tech world.
Section 3. Ethical violations during health crises. The narrative takes a much darker, incredibly personal turn right here. Dr. Fayad claims that in 2016, right after he underwent a major heart transplant surgery, he didn't receive basic human compassion. Instead, he alleges his institutional adversaries actually exploited his physical vulnerability to launch a coordinated, treacherous attack on his career. He's essentially saying they kicked him when he was quite literally fighting for his life.
He describes the aftermath as the law of the jungle, asserting that basic justice was replaced by brute force. The filing alleges a grueling, 10-year, undeclared financial and moral siege. It claims his software stability innovations were intentionally buried, colleagues were coerced using a brutal carrot-and-stick policy, and, shockingly, it even cites instances of police brutality against him while he was physically vulnerable. Section 4. The involved and the negligent. Let's see who is actually being named.
The document lays out a massive network of accused parties, and they are holding absolutely nothing back. It names Moshe Vardi as the primary instigator, alongside accomplices like Diane Crawford and San Jose State University. But it doesn't stop there. It points the finger at negligent officials who allegedly ignored his appeals, High-profile names like Governor Gavin Newsom, Attorney General Rob Bonta, Mayor Matt Mahan, Congressman Ro Khanna, plus a network of over 140 lawyers. It even calls out personal betrayals, including his ex-wife and major tech platforms like Google.
The manifesto zeroes in on what it calls ethical hypocrisy. It specifically calls out Moshe Vardi for this glaring contrast, preaching technology ethics in public, while, according to the document, secretly orchestrating professional hits and marginalizing scientific giants who wouldn't conform to his agenda behind closed doors.
Section 5. The iSol Platform as Pioneer Alternative.
Now, despite a decade of these intense challenges, the document doesn't end in defeat. It actually pivots to a solution. Dr. Fayad introduces the iSol platform. He defines this as a revolutionary digital giant built explicitly to break the grip of academic racism. iSol is presented as a secure fortress, a practical tool designed to protect global intellects and restore stolen scientific and human rights.
As the author puts it, where they wanted exclusion, we chose leadership. He frames this platform not just as a piece of software, but as an ultimate act of resilience. It's a bold statement that instead of bowing to the storm, they chose to become the storm.
So, the battle for accountability is officially on. This document marks a shift from surviving a 10-year siege in the shadows to actively fighting for justice on the world stage. The filing declares a clear intent to pursue all these parties legally, while making a direct appeal to honest academics and the free moral community worldwide. Which leaves us with a really critical question to think about. If these allegations are true, how do our global watchdogs and human rights organizations need to act? How on earth do you investigate and dismantle invisible, systemic discrimination hiding behind the ivy-covered walls of prestigious academic institutions? It is a massive challenge, and Document C303 is demanding that the world finally pays attention.